Hello and welcome to this live interview series showcasing supply diversity here. I'm your host, Sandra D'Souza, and I'm the CEO and founder of Elect, a digital marketplace connecting small businesses with corporate buyers, and every transaction funds a gender equality project. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to have a conversation with Marnie Jones. She's here as the CEO for Talent X, and she's going to talk about her journey as a business owner with us. Marnie, thank you so much for joining us here on the program today.
Hello, very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So what I normally do is, what I normally don't do, is really the thing, is that I don't do a bio intro. So for our audience, I would love for you to just give us a little intro about yourself.
Sure. So I started my career as a trainee actually in a small consultancy firm in Sydney, and I was the bright young age of 19, and I did absolutely anything and everything. I started work at 7 a.m., finished at 10 p.m., and I basically took everything that I could from the owners in terms of knowledge. And they trained me up to start consulting. I got my first client when I just turned 20, I think, and that consultancy firm. So what we did there is we would basically get businesses out of the day-to-day. So we would put in infrastructure, processes, policies in order for them to get out of the day-to-day, because they can often get stuck in mainly just selling, delivering, and chasing the money. So they would then be elevated up into a leadership role. And we would get involved in management training and financials and stats and a few other things. So I was very fortunate because I learned a lot of the hard lessons that business owners go through all of my clients. And I worked with many different industries, construction and mining and non-for-profit and childcare and retail and a few other industries in between. And so I was very, very, very fortunate to have learned a lot of the lessons that other people learn the hard way. And it actually gave me a lot of foresight in my own business journey. So I did that for 10 years actually. And as a part of that, one of my key jobs was when I was 23, I got the opportunity to go to Africa, to Cameroon, and work on a job with my boss that was on the London Stock Exchange. And they were a natural gas mining company. And that was pretty much the turning point of my career. And that's when I realized that I have a few skills to do with people, mainly is my skill set. And really business, 90% of it is people. And the rest is, in my opinion, figures and numbers and getting the numbers right. So it's where my love for people blossomed. And I realized that if you can really make a team work and you can really get the right people doing the right things, then there's not really much you can't achieve, which is it's not new information. I think that's become pretty well known.
Yeah, but not many people believe that. So it's really good that you've kind of like had that reflection and realize your capabilities at such a young age as well.
Yeah, I was very lucky, and I got some amazing clients who what I really loved about them is they really let me teach them, which can be tough, me being so young when you're talking about a lot of people already find it hard to learn, but let alone from people who are younger than them. Even me looking back at my age now, I would find it hard to be taught by a 22-year-old. So I'm very blessed that they let me teach them. And and it ended up, the successes that we reached with that company were actually quite remarkable for such a small team. We made some great inroads on some big projects, amazing clients. And so I was very, very lucky and learned from that age that business is actually fantastic, and it's a rocket ride, and it's got high highs and low lows. And I just fell in love with business basically. So from that day, I've just not had any other main career.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I think, it's good to hear how you've gained that experience through your work. And but before we talk about your journey, just tell us a little bit about Talent X. What is it that you guys do?
Well, Talent X is a very special company. Its focus is to build. We're actually coining a new term, and
okay.
I want to get away from the term recruiter, because although we do find people, recruitment and hiring is just one piece of the pie. If you got that right, that's okay. But if you get the other things wrong, then it doesn't really work out. So we take responsibility for a whole 5 different angles of building a team, actually. And so we've labeled ourselves a people agency. And this is going to be a term that is effectively responsible for the team becoming productive, happy, engaged, and working together as an actual team. And that is not just HR. It's not just the legal side. It's not just management. It's not just hiring. It's not just onboarding. It's all of those things together. And if they're not looked at in comparison with each other, then you end up with these holes and things kind of fall through. And it all is based around a few key stats. So one of the stats that I find really actually that kind of shocked me when I found out, Gallup released a series of stats around staff and how engaged they are in the workforce across the world. And in Australia, 86% of Aussie employees are not engaged in the workforce. And
Wow. That's a massive stat.
86%, yeah.
Yes.
And they define engaged as being interested and emotionally invested in the future of the company. So only 14% of staff in Australia put their hand up and say, I am invested emotionally in the future of this business. So it's quite an issue when it comes to it. We're also in a society where my generation is so free and able to do what they want that I think that value of being appreciative of the job that you've got and the role that you're in and taking it for granted is a current situation in the workspace, I feel. And everyone thinks, if you grind and you be an entrepreneur and you just got to like get up and grind and I'm going to be my own boss. And it's like, man.
I know.
And so
no, it's nothing like it, is it?
I know. And so that's where the challenge of building a team, there's just extra challenges constantly put into trying to build a team. And most of the owners that I work with are just so fed up with teams and people that they just go, you know what, I've just like done the best I can and I accept subpar because I don't know how to make it any better. So the main thing that Talent X does in terms of its service and offering is we separate the building of a team into 5 key areas. The first area actually is very interesting, a little bit controversial. But the first thing that we do is we put the mirror up to the client, to the company. And I ask them, are you worthy of a high performance team? If I found you the most amazing, incredible staff member, are you worthy? Are you going to retain them? Are you going to take care of them? Are you going to mentor them? Are you going to will they enjoy working for you? If I called every single staff member who's worked for you or your current staff, what would they say about you? Have you made promises you haven't kept? Because 70 to 90% of people leave due to their direct senior. So how do you fit into that? And it also says that another stat is 79% of people who quit cite lack of appreciation as their reason for leaving. So it's the first question you have to answer. If you're really serious about building an amazing team, you have to ask yourself, are you worthy of it? Are you built to handle high performers? Are you built to sustain that type of group of people? A part of that also is the strategy and the vision. So one of the big differences between that I've observed with a really amazing high top performer, 10 out of 10, amazing gun, is they're future focused. And most performers think with the future, if I can get that, I go over here. And if I can do that, and maybe this time, that's how they think. They think ahead. And so if a company doesn't have a really clear vision and direction, they don't have very clear, succinct targets and things that you're accountable for, that's actually not attractive to high performers. So many companies don't have a very clear vision or direction. It's such a key part of building a high performance team, because if you're trying to get a group of people working together, you need a direction to go. And so that's a big part of that. So the first part is making sure that you're worthy of a high performance team. Once you've determined that, yeah, I've got a few things to work on, but I really feel like I am worthy of a high performance team, the second step is you must be attractive to high performers. So people tell me, I've heard millions of times, Marnie, I can't find good staff. Can't find good staff. There's no such thing as good staff. Can't find good staff. Well, I have a stat for you. Are you ready for this one, Sandra?
I like that.
This is a good one.
Excellent.
So over 67% of people currently employed are interested in new jobs or willing to talk to a recruiter.
Wow. And while they're at the job.
Yes. So
2 out of every 3 people in a company already are thinking about a different job.
Or willing to talk about
willing
it.
To move.
So what?
Yeah.
That's right. Another stat for you. 74% of younger employees would accept a pay cut to work at their ideal job.
And that's 3 out of 4 in a company.
Wow. And so that means that strategy piece I spoke about in the being worthy, that's where that plays in. If you have nothing to sell, nothing to offer, if they're looking at you and they're determining whether they should apply for your role, because also 90% of people check you out before applying, like they check out everything you have in your socials. So are you set up to be attractive to these people? Because your problem is not finding good stuff. If you think that, then
it's about retaining, isn't it?
It's about attracting them. So what's going to make sure that that person over there in that company is so attracted to your business that it compels them as like a magnet to apply to your company. And so that's in how you represent yourself online. And I think that employer branding and recruitment marketing should be treated just as seriously as a typical marketing or sales campaign. So is the founder or the leadership team putting up videos on their careers page, telling them exactly what type of team they want, what team they don't want, which is just as important. Like if you're a smaller business, you should have a video saying, if you want a 9-to-5, don't work here. You'll hate me. If you want a career where I'm going to teach you, this is the job for you. And then so you're going to attract the right type of people if you're putting that out there. So when people say I can't find good staff, your real problem is you have a marketing problem, a recruitment marketing problem. So that's the attraction piece. So number 1 is you're worthy. Number 2 is you're attractive to high performers. Now, number 3 is interesting. Number 3 is making sure that you're gatekeeping, because you could have 100 people wanting to work for you, but you've got to be able to screen them in a way that you know they're productive, you know that they're not toxic, and you know that they are honest. Now, honesty is such a big part of this, and I have another stat for you. 78%.
I love your stats.
I know, I have so many. 78% of people lie during the hiring process.
Oh, wow. So, 78%.
78%.
Jeez, that's high.
Yes, that's very high. So they might lie about dates or times. Even yesterday, one of my consultants, one of my staff, she told me about a reference check we did, and we found this person, and he came across really good and amazing. But we have to make sure we reference check and verify that really thoroughly. And he didn't want us to reference check his current role. And so we dug and we dug and we dug, and we have a way of getting it out of them and just being, you got to be really honest with us here. And we found out that he's like, oh, I haven't actually worked for this company since December. And I was like, okay, so you lied to us. He's like, yes. We're like, okay, so can we call them? And then he ended up allowing us to call them. We called them, and they said he hasn't worked here for 3 years. And we fired him because we found him smoking weed on our client site.
No.
So, and you think that this is for certain types of people that look a certain way or behave a certain way, or have a really not well written resume, or they don't dress well. No, you'll be absolutely surprised. People fall into this. You think, oh, Marnie is great. Did you see her on that live webinar with Sandra? She's so cool. We should hire her.
Exactly. She's so credible. She loves her stats. I know.
And so you might then fall in love with this, which is what we do, especially in Australia. We fall in love with, I didn't like, in an interview, my gut feeling is just the way she said that thing. Remember Susie? She ruined that department. We shouldn't hire Susie because she runs us as Susie. It's just, you have all these weird ideas about staff that come in between you actually choosing someone who is valuable in previous roles and verifying that. So the gatekeeping step, you've got the worthiness, you're attractive. The gatekeeping step is all about screening and making sure that you're screening out anyone who is not valuable to the business. And I guess the biggest tip that I can give anyone who's listening to this, who's currently in hiring, the most important question you should be asking candidates is, what value have you added to previous roles? And you can ask that in 10 different ways. So what was the target you were given, and how did you perform against that? How did you add value? What other things did you implement that increased either monetary value or made your boss's life easier, efficiencies, whatever? Because high performers always improve things as they go. Everywhere they go into, they improve something and they go to the next area. And they also keep their own stats. They always keep their own stats. They'll be like, I didn't have any KPIs, but I measured this. So the gatekeeping part is really important, because you've got to make sure that the people you're looking at are honest, that they're not toxic, they're going to add to your team, and that they're valuable. Let's just say you found a process for that and you're really good at that. It's then important that you structure the role, which is step number 4. So once you've got the person, this is what happens. We kind of go, okay, good luck, see you later, talk to you soon. And we kind of let them go off over there. And 25% of people regret changing jobs as soon as a quarter of people who change jobs regret it instantly. And normally it's because there might be some sort of hyper promise in the hiring process that then doesn't follow through when they begin. Like my manager hasn't talked to me for 3 weeks. Like, I don't really know what I'm meant to be doing. It wasn't really what I thought it would be. So you've got to structure the role and make sure it's very clear and simple. And that's step number 4. The last step is the most interesting step with the most horror statistics. And that's all about, it's all about engaging and retaining your team. So
Yeah.
once you have them, you've hired them, you've established them properly, that's the role structured, it's then really important that you engage and retain them. So this is where you get the stat of 70 to 90% of people leave due to their direct senior. 40% of staff say that their managers do not give credit when due. 91% of employees think that their leaders lack communication skills, which is incredible. And
Amazing.
almost 60% of managers say they didn't receive any management training. So this is about how you train your managers, make sure that they're not jumping in and wearing the hats of their juniors. That's what people seem to think management is. It's not. A manager is measured and looked at in comparison to how well their juniors are doing the role without them. That's when you know a manager's doing their job and not solving the problems for them. Yeah. So it's all about how you train your managers, you train your team, you set up the way you structure roles and pay and reward and things like that. Any other engagement sort of strategies that people have in place to keep them, like, you know, you can have wellness programs and all the other stuff that does exist, but it really needs to be based around results and outcomes. So in terms of what we do, this is kind of a very long way to answer your question. Sorry, Sandra.
That's all right.
In terms of what we do, we offer basically a people partnership to our clients, and we work together as a team. You give me exactly what your goal is. I figure out 3 to 5 years from now what your financial goal is. I help you create a hiring strategy based on the ideal way you should structure and model your business from a people point of view, which is very important because a lot of people, as they grow, they make roles suit their current team. And they think, oh, I don't want to change, you know, John's role because he's really good. So we're just going to give him kind of half of these 3 different roles, when you're making it, molding it around him, not the way that it should be for the company and the growth that you try to achieve. So we really, we do a workshop where we basically figure out exactly what your financial goals are, what roles you need in terms of that are actually going to bring value. And then we also do hiring projects. Now, hiring projects go through that screening process of ensuring that they're valuable and they're honest and that they're productive before you hire them. We also do knowledge testing in our hiring projects. And one of the things that is really important to me as the director is I make sure that we're never going to charge a commission ever. I never want to charge a commission for hiring projects because I feel like it, whether directly or not, does change the purpose of the hiring and the type of candidate you might put forward. And if you have 3 equal candidates, you're going to put forward the one that's the most expensive one because you get a better commission. So that's just something I don't personally believe in. And I find that you can't then, there's no room for negotiating for the client and making sure that they are getting the best price. And so we always charge a fixed fee. And we also have a guarantee that if the staff member leaves within 12 months, we pay them $2,500. So it's very important that every placement that we have is for at least, it's for longevity, because if we don't think with that and take responsibility for that, it might change the way we hire them.
Yeah. No, I think that's, I mean, look, I think it's amazing with that. You're right to say that you guys are not just about recruitment. It's very much a people agency because you're looking after from where they're at, this internal structure and culture, and then where their goals are to help them to hire the best people for the company as it grows.
That's right.
And not many people do that, which is amazing. And so I guess now that you've told us a bit about your awesome experience when you were starting out, plus your business with what you do, and actually before I ask the next question, I'm wanting to know about your journey. You just got me thinking that your model and what you do at Talent X really does help hire diverse people because you're removing unconscious bias, aren't you?
100%. Also, the way that we screen is very much not based off a resume. It's based off end results, which have nothing to do with age, gender, religious interests. It just has nothing to do with any of that. It's got cut straight to the question is what value did you add? And even age, it excludes ageism and thinking that I have to have 10 years experience to this role. It's actually not even, most of the time it's not the case. Yeah.
Well, that's
which
fantastic.
is part of why I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I bet.
I'm for the productive person. That's what I'm for.
And the companies, I can tell that they would love you because this is an age-old problem of hiring, retaining, and keeping that high-performing culture going, or even having, not necessarily keeping, where some companies, not just people, but companies struggle with it.
And and I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, you can finish it off and I'll really get to my next question.
Okay, I was just going to say it does, we do challenge the client often because we end up putting forward candidates or preventing candidates that they would normally not have considered. So for example, I have a client and he wanted a senior bookkeeper or accounts manager, and we put forward this person who was an amazing 10 out of 10 performer. Like every role she had been in, she just improves it tenfold, stuff that she wasn't even asked to do, efficiencies, amazing. And he and his office manager didn't like her because on her personality profile, she came across like she doesn't communicate very much. So she just kind of is like this, and she doesn't sell herself. She's not a salesperson. So like we don't like her. She hasn't got enough charisma. And I was like, I call my client. I was like, you need to hire her. I will personally pay for her wage if you don't hire her. Like you need her. And then once he placed her, she's been there 6 months, and I just had dinner with him last night, and he's like, she's fantastic. He said she's just fantastic.
Wow.
And she's
wow.
So we really trust our process in giving you people who actually bring a tangible result and don't have, and she's this like older woman, and she's short, and she's this very robust woman, and she doesn't talk very much, but she's just bloody she's like fantastic.
She gets it done.
She gets it done.
That's awesome. And so I guess I mean with the work that you're doing, which sounds actually quite inspirational, I would like to learn about your journey, and also because of you're a woman. This is a woman-owned, woman-led business. How did you, I guess, get into this? And with accumulating your experience and your knowledge and bring this process together, what made you decide that this is something that you want to start as a business owner?
Well, it was kind of by accident. I'd been consulting for a while, and I found that I would inadvertently help a lot of my clients through the hiring process. I found recruiters extremely frustrating, and there is a place for recruiters, especially headhunting is a very specific niche offering, which is not easy to do. But the general, which is, I guess, a bit rude to say, and I hate to say it, whoever's watching this is a recruiter, I'm sorry, but I just find that it's an industry that's kind of like the taxi industry, where it's very frustrating. Over 90% of client owners that I know don't like recruiters, find them very frustrating, but a necessary thing that they need. And it's like, sitting in the taxi and the driver's rude and it's slovenly, but you're like, well, I need to get to this place, I have to use them. And so it's kind of like an industry that's begging for an Uber to come along. And I think that's where when I was looking at it, I never fully considered it, but over time, I got just so frustrated. I ended up taking on hiring projects myself. I ended up doing 22 hiring projects in 1 year, part-time, rejecting it. I started getting known for it, and I've been doing this for years. So it was very natural for me. And then I thought, hold on, why don't I do this? Because it can help so many companies. And if I do it officially, I can build a team. And so it really came out of my own frustration for recruitment, and seeing that it really does need a bit of a shakeup, and that they need to take more responsibility for the placement of the person and the value that that person brings into the company. And if they're not taking responsibility for that, then why are you hiring people? So that's kind of how I got into it. And yeah, it's a very exciting, it's so much fun, and I'm enjoying myself a lot.
Well, I'm going to liken you to Uber being the disruptor in the taxi industry. So do you see yourself as the Uber in the recruitment industry? I mean, I know you're not in recruitment, you don't want to call yourself that, but you're actually changing how recruitment is getting done.
Definitely. I just, I don't know how humble I need to be on this, Sandra. I'm 100. There's going to be a before Talent X and an after Talent X in the recruitment industry. Like, it's going to actually change the way that it's done, because we charge, on average, it ends up being about 13% of the wage, even though it's a fixed fee. The average recruiter starts at 15, average is 18, goes up to 25. And we do literally, I've counted 10 times more than a typical recruitment agency, and make back our fee 50% of the time through how we negotiate. So the value is like, as far as I'm concerned, I have no competitors in the space that I'm doing. No one is doing what TalentX is doing. And so it really is the Uber. But I'm just working on working with some really amazing clients who are really serious about growing their teams. And I'm very focused on quality over quantity at the moment. So I have the luxury of being picky with great clients. Also, I don't want to work with clients that I can't place someone in a company that I don't believe in. If that company hasn't got values that align with what I believe in, I won't work with them. So I don't do replacement hires or one-off hires.
No, and you also don't want to hire high performers and just demotivate them in those sort of environment as well.
Exactly, because a lot of owners are like, oh, staff, there's not many good ones, and there's a percentage of great staff are very small. But it's like, you know what? That's exactly the same for companies.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same for companies. 80% of staff have promises that aren't kept. So you've got to put the mirror up to companies and go, hello, like, would you want to work for yourself? And a lot of people are like, no, no, I would not.
And
And
are they willing to change? Have you seen some
exactly.
significant changes?
Yes,
You do?
yeah. Some of them, it's a bit. I've rejected a couple of clients. I've said, look, I don't think you're ready for this. I don't think you're up for it. I think you don't want to take responsibility for what you've created in your company, and I don't want to work. Because you got to realize when I'm hiring someone, I'm the salesperson for that company.
Yeah.
I'm convincing them that the great candidate has so much choice in this market. I'm convincing them to join your company. So if you have no vision, you don't take care of your staff, you don't train them, you don't, if that's not there, then why would I'd be like, don't go to them. Like, there's a better one out there. I'll find you, So I'm just as much for the candidate as I am for the client, which is why we're very picky with our clients to make sure that they're fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is amazing. So now the really important question I'm going to ask you is that if a corporate, I guess what Elect does, and have corporate buyers who are looking for amazing suppliers like yourself, how do they find Talent X?
Talent X can be found at www.talentx.com.au. You can email me directly if you like. My email is marnie@talentx.com.au. And we can tee up a chat and see if there's any synergy.
Excellent. And I just also want to let everybody know that Talent X is also a member on Elect. So you can also find them on the Elect platform and get in touch with Marnie that way too, as an option.
Thanks, Sandra.
So, and don't forget too that 1% of the transaction value on Elect funds a gender equality project. So this is what we do, and it's lovely to have Marnie, as you heard her speak, Marnie Jones from Talent X, so capable, doing amazing work, being the disruptor in the recruitment industry, and really, I guess, the proof is in the pudding in terms of the stats, that you've got the stats to prove your work.
Thanks, Sandra. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Well, thanks for being on the show. And I guess for everybody, thanks for watching us. See you next Wednesday for our Wednesday weekly lunchtime series. And this is live interview showcasing on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So until then, see you next week. Thanks, Marnie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.